Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Black Men Speak. Our mission is to change the narrative about Black men by changing the narrator to Black men. I'm your host, Shauna Love, and I'm here with my brother and my co-host, Kimani Pasai. Hi, Ki.
How you doing?
All right. Our guest today on Black Men Speak is Kwame Nitoto. Kwame is the former executive director of Oakland Parents Together. He's a community activist and an amazing human being, and I just feel so blessed to have him here as our guest. Kwame, welcome to Black Men Speak.
Thank you very much for having me. Akwaba.
Aguaba, tell us what that means.
Akwaba. Welcome to Ghana.
All right.
Akwaba. Welcome home.
Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Looking forward to you both joining me one day. You gotta come and see it.
I would love to.
You gotta come and see it.
Like I was telling you, I have a friend who just got back from Ghana. He said so welcoming, and it was an experience like, you know what I'm saying, he couldn't imagine.
It's an experience that I never could have imagined. When I first came here, I had no idea I was gonna come to stay. I kind of thought there's a possibility way at the back of my mind, but when I hit the ground in Ghana, the very next day I knew it was going to be my home. I went back and got everything and came to Ghana. I'm so happy, so thankful to be here in the motherland.
Yeah.
It's just a dream come true. I'm living a dream. I quit everything, let go of everything in California and the States. I've been in Ghana now about 2 years, and it's a beautiful, beautiful dream come true for me. Yeah. Unbelievable.
I am so moved by that and so inspired. Tell us a little bit about what made you go there for the first time and what made you decide to stay.
Well, I grew up in the Bay Area, so I'm a Pan-Africanist, and I've studied with some interesting, great leaders, and I always had a yearning to come to Africa. When I was a child, when I was in high school, I took African studies classes. Got named Kwame at Berkeley High School. I was 14 years old, and learned about Kwame Nkrumah and all the wonderful experiences of him as a leader and as a man, and was encouraged to do my research and get to know our culture as African people all my life. And so when I turned 60, I had a little medical situation that got really, really bad, and I almost died.
Oh, wow.
And I was laying in my bed one day, and I was thinking, I'm not gonna make it. This is it. And I constantly remember stopping breathing. I stopped breathing, and I couldn't catch a breath. And I thought, in my mind was still very active. My mind was telling me, you're gonna die right now. You're getting ready to die. And then I started thinking about all the things that I told myself I would do that I hadn't done. I'm 60 years old, I'm laying in my deathbed. And I'm thinking, I can't die now. I haven't gone to Africa, I haven't finished my book, I haven't done all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. I gotta get some more real estate for my children, all my personal plans. And I thought, I can't die right now. And somehow, miraculously, I caught a breath.
Wow.
It was just one breath, and I'll never forget that moment. It just changed me because that breath was so beautiful, just a simple breath. And I thought, you know what? I'm never gonna waste another one. And I got through that situation, and I said, it's time to do the things that I came here to do. And while I was still in the hospital, a friend of mine came to visit me, who had just come from Ghana. And he was telling me these Ghana stories. Oh my God, he was Ghana. And then he said, I'm going back 6 months. And I said, I'm going with you. And I did. I came with him, and 6 months later, I was in Ghana, and my life has never been the same. And in Ghana, living my dream, and doing all the things on my bucket list I said I was going to do for myself. And I haven't looked back, and it's been amazing. I'm learning to love myself.
Wow.
I'm taking time to do that. I've been a parent for 40 years, and raising children and taking care of my mother and my brother and my siblings, and Oakland Parents Together, carrying the community the best of my ability. And right now I'm just loving myself. I need me right now.
That's
Oh,
right.
wow. That's so beautiful, Kwame. That touches me so deeply. And I got to tell you, Black Men Speak, all of our interviews usually kick off with the question, what's hurting Black men? And to hear you talk about, coming to this point in your life where all of a sudden you looked at your entire life and what you had accomplished and what you had not yet accomplished, and you decided, I have to live and I have to live for me. It speaks to some of the things that have come up in some of our earlier interviews. But I just want you to, do you mind just talking about that from the perspective of being a Black man in America and not getting to the point where you had a chance to love yourself until the age of 60?
Right. Growing up in America, fortunately for me, I'm growing up in the Berkeley area, Oakland, Berkeley, the East Bay, which is a very progressive area to be in. A lot of great mentors and great schools. Like I said, I went to Berkeley High School and they had African studies. And I
Yeah.
learned African studies in high school. I read The Destruction of African Civilization, and it was a required reading in the African Studies department. I saw a person with the book in Ghana 2 weeks ago and told him I read it in high school, and they looked at me and said, you must have been in a very progressive high school. I said, yeah, I was. And
Yeah.
so fortunately, the Bay Area provides that. Berkeley High School was phenomenal in the 70s. And so also for me, I had a really powerful dad. My dad really influenced the shape of my mind a lot. I wanted to be just like him. He was a soldier. He was he was in the Army. My father did 26 years in the military.
Wow.
And so he knew about duty and responsibility. He would always talk to me about duty and responsibility. And, he would say, boy, a man takes responsibility. That's what a man does. He would always say, boy, a man takes responsibility. That's what a man does. And he would say, you can measure a man by the level of responsibility he's willing to accept or not accept. So I grew up hearing that all my life, that a man takes responsibility, and the measure of a man is the degree of responsibility that he's willing to accept or not accept. And my dad just kind of drilled that in my head about duty. And, I would call, if I was asked him to wake me up to do something early in the morning, I said, Dad, call me, wake me up. You say, your responsibility should wake you up. He always talked about duty, responsibility, and how important it was. It's taking responsibility. And that's exactly really what I've done.
That's
I've always taken responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, because that seems to be a theme in my life right now, as far as younger men that I'm talking to and family members that I've talked to, that it's all about accepting the responsibility and dealing with the consequences of your actions and owning it. Right. And I think so many men nowadays don't do that. Men, period, but also Black men, because a lot of fathers weren't around to teach them that. My father wasn't around to be able to teach me that, but luckily I was, aware enough to pick that up on my own and understand that. And I think that's what's helped me get to where I'm at today, and not being dead somewhere or locked up in prison,
And that's part of our story. Systematically, fathers have been removed from the homes of African families.
Yeah.
It's by design, fathers aren't there.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the brothers have had to grow up with that experience. And most of my friends will share the exact same experience you just shared. That's truly hurting Black men. The absence of fathers is a painful one. We talk in workshops we talk about the daddy issue, and we get a group of men together, we talk about our relationship with our fathers. And there's always a bunch of crying because we have so much pain around that issue. And for me, fortunately, I did have my father, and I wanted to be a better father than my dad. And so I set the bar very high for myself, because my dad was this amazing, amazing dude. And so when my children started coming, it was it was real for me. You know, I got little people looking at me, calling me daddy. Man,
Mhm.
it was just, it got really, really real. And it wasn't easy. You know, I can tell you, I struggled as a young father.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I did have motivation from a lot of my friends. And then a lot of my children's friends would latch on to me that didn't have fathers. And many of them began to say, they would ask me, can I call you dad? Can you be my dad too? And it was like, how do you tell a little child that you can't be their dad? Of course I'll be your dad. So I ended up raising like 30 kids. It's
Wow.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
Wow.
what's really funny is that, and I liken it to like swimming. Like, a child is a child. You look at the water, it's very unnerving. You don't know what you're gonna do. What's
Right,
happening. You got the fear of it getting in, and then once you finally get in there, it's so liberating, and you
right.
feel so good. And that's kind of how I like in taking responsibility with men, because I feel like
Yeah.
men are scared to take that responsibility because it means so much. You know what I'm saying? When you
Mhm.
take that responsibility. But if I could tell any black man, any man, period, that once you take that responsibility, it's liberating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're owning it for yourself. You come into yourself as a man. You're more powerful as a being because you're owning your own responsibility. You know what I'm saying? And I wish more people could feel that.
It's been good. I know my greatest joy has been being a father. You know, raising my children, being involved in their lives, going through the pain, the strain, the tears. I cried my cries. You're not gonna raise a group of kids. I have 5 children.
Yeah.
You're not gonna raise 5 kids without shedding some tears. So I cried my cries, man. And now I'm really proud of myself as a father and as a man. Because I made that commitment, I gave that sacrifice, and I did it so lovingly and willingly and with so much joy every day that I have absolutely no regrets of that. And now I see my children doing the same thing. I have sons that are great fathers. My daughter's a mother, and she's a more than mother extraordinaire. And I have 7 beautiful grandchildren. I don't worry about 1 minute because I know who their mom and dads are. And it's just, to me, a wonderful, wonderful thing. So, that's a big part of our pain, though. The parenting thing, and that's why I ended up at Oakland Parents Together, because I started off in youth development in the Bay Area. I was in youth programs for 20 years,
Yeah.
and what I learned working youth programs was if I really want to make an impact in the lives of children, I need to address the parent issue. Growing up at my house with my dad and getting that influence, I realized how important fatherhood really is. And I worked in youth development for 20 years in the Bay Area. I started working with the city of Berkeley Park, worked at the gyms and YMCA eventually. And what I learned was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And if I really wanted to make a difference in their lives, I needed to develop relationships with their parents, their moms and dads, because the kids would leave my program and come back the next day, and I could see that they had been devastated by one thing or the other. Would talk to my kids, and so I started doing these parent workshops for my kids in my programs, and it just grew. And eventually, Henry Hitz found me and invited me to come to Oakland Parents Together and do my thing there. And ended up going all the way to become the executive director, which is an experience I'll never forget. I'm so grateful for that experience. But I do know that one of the biggest things hurting us as Black men is the absence of fathers, without a doubt.
Yes.
Absolutely. You're so blessed to have had the type of father figure that you had, and then to be the type of
Absolutely.
individual that would choose to want to emulate that as well. There are some people who have great parents, but for some reason they just, they diverge from the pattern and the example that their parents gave them. But it says a lot about your individual character to say, not only do I want to be a great father like my dad, but I want to be even better, not to show him up, but to say, I can take this to a new level, because in earlier generations, we were taught that you stand on the shoulders of the generation before you, right? And that when you have kids and when you help other people, your goal is for them to be better than you are and better off than you. And growing up under that, you knew you had a responsibility, right? Like if my dad did this and his dad did that, then I gotta level up and move the needle a little bit further. You know, so I just really admire the fact that you had the spirit to say, I'm taking that on and I'm going to do even more.
Yeah,
Well, my dad actually used to challenge me. My dad would challenge me with that and say, Dad, he would say, son, be a better father than me. And I'm like, man, that's deep, Dad, because that's a tall order. My mom had a lot to do with it as well. Okay, I had a great mom who loved us every day, and she taught me that there was nothing on this earth greater than a mother's love. And I think the biggest dynamic in our household was that mother love. Because my dad was at work all the time. He'd be gone for weeks, for months sometimes. And my mom was such a rock, and she loved us, and she had 7 of us. And she loved us so incredible that, you know, I had fun as a child. I mean, in spite of the turmoil of the community, and we had dysfunction in our family, but we had such love from my mom that it was the anchor that held everything together. She still apologizes. Well, I know me and your daddy was crazy. Yeah, they was kind of crazy at times, you know, but the love in our house was a saving grace. And so I need to shoot a shout out to my mom and to all the moms out there that are holding it together and putting it down, because my mom had a big part of my development as a human being and even as a man. So shout out to my mom. She's great.
Can you talk a little bit more about your time working with the community and working in youth development, particularly like with Oakland Parents Together, and any parents that you worked with as you observed young Black boys growing and developing and facing the challenges that they faced, and looking at their parents, whether they had a father present or not present in their lives? Can you talk about, like, are there any stories or any individuals who, like, you can, you know, talk about them anonymously, but anything that comes to mind about, like, some real examples of when it was done poorly, when it was done well, or things that you learned about, you know, Black male development here in the United States, and what's missing, what's hurting, what's lacking, what's good, you know, any of those things?
Well, when I was in youth development, I think the biggest thing that I recognized, and we talked about it already, was the absence of African fathers in the homes, Black fathers. I worked with so many children, particularly boys, and when I talked to them about their family situation, oh, such a high percent. I don't want to put a number on it, but it may be like 75%, maybe 80% of them did not have fathers in their home. And I realized that to be a real issue for us, a very real issue for African people, Black people living in America particularly. I like to use the word African as opposed to Black personally, because I think that's another one of the things that hurt us, is we've been so disconnected from our culture. And they labeled us with so many different things. Black is just another label. We're African people. And that consciousness, I think, is very important, because I think that's the root cause of all this pain. But in the in urban communities, you know, so many kids are growing up without fathers, without really real role models, and the pain of our households. You know, when I first started working in Oakland, my first day on the job, a woman came to see me with a pistol because I'd put her son out of the gym because he wouldn't pull his pants up. And he went home and he told his grandmother that there's a new guy working in the gym and he's mean, and he wouldn't let me come in the gym, and she came to see me with a pistol in her hand.
Wow.
I'm thinking, what is she? And so she came into my office and she's actually holding she got a bowl of greens in one hand, eating a bowl of greens. And she's got a pistol in her hand that she's eating the greens with. So every time she takes a scoop of these greens, I'm looking at this pistol in her hand, right? And she's talking to me about her grandson. And so I have to explain to her what happened. And we had a really beautiful conversation. And I told her how much I love the kids. And listen, I have some guidelines. When they come in this building, they're gonna have to have some behavior adjustment. And when she left there, she told her grandson, listen, you do what he tell you to do. And she told me, listen, if you have any trouble in this neighborhood, you come see me because I run this and I'll take care of it for you. So she became one of my biggest supporters, right? But she confronted me with a pistol the first day I saw her.
Woo!
Because I tried to come in and set some structure in the building. And so that's what we're dealing with in urban communities. But my greatest pain has been watching young people die. Like so many kids I worked with over the years have been murdered in Oakland. I mean, I've buried 20 children that I knew personally. It took such a toll on me, you know, to come to work or get a phone call. Like just last week, I got some information that one of my kids from EOIDC, who's my daughter, a young woman named Hadia was killed in Oakland last week. And it's just, I'm so close to that child. I raised that child. That child's like my daughter. And it happens so often. So I've watched so many people that I love put their children in the ground and listen to their wailing and their crying, you know, and their sobbing, and being a community leader, having a responsibility to be there. I spoke at so many young people's funerals and try to calm the community down because of the retaliation. I've had two of my nephews were murdered in Oakland. And I watched my sister die of a broken heart because she never recovered from her son's. And it's just so much pain in that. It's so much pain. And so these are the things that, for me personally, fueled me to really take more action, to really be more involved, to really take more responsibility, because it's too real. And when I come to Ghana, people in Ghana have no idea what Africans in the United States are dealing with, because Ghana is the most peaceful, loving place probably in the world. Men here don't fight. Men here will argue, push and shove each other, but they'll never hit. And so it's a totally different experience. Totally different experience.
That is incredible.
People come and raise their children. Yeah, it's really incredible. So for me, the murders were very painful. The Oakland murders, like every year we have 130, 40 murders. Like that's 2 a week. That's 2 kids a week getting knocked down every week. And for someone like myself who works in the community, 50% of the time I know these babies. I know the kids. I've worked at all the schools in Oakland. I've worked at pretty much every school, all the high schools. So I know these kids. It was tough.
It's heartbreaking.
Very tough.
It's really heartbreaking, Kwame. I learned a lesson the hard way. You know, I have always wanted to give back, and I've always found different avenues to do that. And what I had never really done was like really work in community. And so I developed this summer program, and it was, you know, I had my coaching practice then. And so it was about self-discovery, a coaching program, but through theater arts. I figured I would combine 2 of the things that I really love, right? And I did it in Bayview Hunters Point one summer at the YMCA out there. And I had these kids who, you know, had suffered so many losses of loved ones. You know, one young girl had lost a brother and a father to gun violence in the community. I had kids who had all kinds of different kinds of special needs, all kinds of emotional trauma. They were acting out in so many different ways. And I realized, well, here I am as a coach, but I know how to coach adults, right? I know how to coach adults because I can reason with them. When you're dealing with middle schoolers and they're, you know, hormonal and they're, you know, they're raging and they're too young to really sit down and reason with, it takes a whole different skill set. Like you have to be trained how to deal with children in a whole different way than when you're dealing with adults. I did that one summer and I was like, I'm not cut out for it. You know, I'm really not cut out for it. And as much as I want to, I had to be very honest with myself. I'm far too sensitive. I'm what you would call, they have a little acronym for it, HSP, highly sensitive person. And I'm an HSP. I get really overwhelmed and inundated by the littlest things. And I'm also, because I'm so sensitive, I have such a huge heart and I have so much compassion. You know, it's like I want to do so much. But I look at people like you know, and another community leader in Oakland that I had the privilege of talking to a few weeks ago. He also works with youth. He works with people who are transitioning out of incarceration, out of homeless, with the youth and all of that to help people build self-sufficiency. And he was telling me the same thing that you're telling me, that it just devastates him. It's just one funeral after another all year long, you know, and he's there trying to sow the seeds of hope. and trying to stay optimistic, but it, it wears on him, and then I think about, yeah, and that was one of the things that, what I discovered about myself is I knew I had to stay in my lane. And that's kind of how this project came to life, right? With Kimani and I, it's like, what can I do? What am I cut out to do?
It's a great project.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But giving brothers like you an opportunity to share your story, to talk about your experience, to honor the work that you've done. If I could give you an award, and maybe I'll do that. Maybe that's the next step. We'll have the Black Men Speak Awards. And I will probably give one to every single person who has been a guest on this platform, because I just honor you and respect you guys so much, and I appreciate the work that you've committed your life to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, really.
Well, the work continues. I thought I was coming to Ghana to retire, but the same work found me here.
Yeah.
And ironically, I developed a wellness project here. Because kind of like you talk, what you're addressing, the pain that we do. One of the things that happened to me when I came to Ghana, I'll tell you two quick stories, and I'll try to capsulize them because it can take a little long sometimes. In Ghana, we don't have the same system with the phones. So you have to get these Ghana phones, and they have 2 chips because we have 2 different networks, and one can be down. If you have 2 chips, you can use both networks. And I don't have 2 chips in my phone. I have an American phone, so I'm already limited. And you have to get, everything is prepaid. They don't have like a monthly cell phone. Like you can't go to Sprint or AT&T and have a monthly bill that you pay and your phone is always on. You have to get prepaid minutes. You have to load your phone with prepaid minutes all the time, like sometimes 2 or 3 times a month, 3 times a week. But I go to get my phone serviced because I don't know how to do it myself. And I'm standing in line. The lady comes in behind me. And she's the store owner, but I don't know it. So she walks straight to the front and she pulls out this bag, and the clerk turns to all of us in line and says, "Excuse me, you guys to reach down and take money out of this bag. I mean, out of the counter and put it in the bag." Because that lady's got to take the money to the bank. He's kind of at the end of the day. But it's a lot of money. And the guy gives the bag to the older woman, and she looks like she might be 85, almost 90 years old. She's walking around by herself. She's a very older woman. She walks right past me out the door. There's no escort with her. There's no security guard. There's no armored car. She's walking by herself. So I'm just flabbergasted that they're not even trying to hide the money. They're just doing it in front of everybody. So I'm standing in line. I'm thinking, this is crazy. So I look out the door just to see where the lady is. I'm assuming somebody's picking her up. She's walking down the street with this big bag of money. Just walking down the street with this big bag of money.
Wow.
I'm tripping out. So I go back to my host family and I tell them the story. Like, I just came out of the cell phone. So this lady comes in and she gets this big bag of money, and they're just looking at me, and they're not getting it. I'm like, she's walking down the street with this big bag of money. She wouldn't have made it to the corner in Oakland, California. And finally, I just looked at this woman, my host's wife. I said, anybody could just push that old lady down and grab that money and be gone. And she's looking at me, and she's looking at me, and I'm looking at the way she's looking at me. And finally, she just leans in real close to me. She says, "No one thinks like that in Ghana." And she's looking at me like, "What is wrong with you? Like something is wrong with you. Do you think push an old lady down and take her money? What kind of human being do I have in my home?" She's looking at me like, I'm a sick person. And I'm looking at her face and I'm thinking, oh my God, am I the only person in Ghana that would think that somebody would take the money from this older lady? And so I didn't get it then. I didn't get it. But then the next day, my brother called me. My great niece was coming to Ghana. I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Nabu, my niece Nabu is coming to Ghana." I said, "Well, I'm going to come and meet her at the airport." She said, "Okay, tell me when she's coming." So I go to the airport to meet my niece. And it's a big, receiving area, and I'm standing in there. There's a police officer in there. And he keeps looking at me. And I'm concerned about this police officer looking at me because I don't want to be harassed by the police in Ghana. And every time I look over, this guy's a big guy. He's like 6'5", 6'6", maybe 270 pounds, a big guy. But I'm in Ghana, and I don't feel like being bothered by the police. So I get angry, Shauna, because this police officer keeps looking at me.
Yeah.
So I get mad. I start mugging him. I give him my black man mug. I look, don't come over here bothering me. I give him the biggest scowl I could give him. And I look right at him like, what are you looking at me for? So finally, this young man goes and crosses the room and picks up a big, like, reclining chair, walks to the front of the room and sits down. He looks back at me with eyes of love and says, Daddy, just come, I have a chair for you. And he walks over to me as loving as he possibly can be, puts his hand, he says, you'll see your friends. And he gave me so much love, I almost cried. And then I remember the day before, the lady looking at me like something was wrong with me. And I realized something was really wrong with me. I brought Oakland, California to Ghana with me. I didn't need to, because people are different in Ghana. People don't think like that in Ghana. And I realized I was sick. I wasn't well. Look at me. I'll prepare to fight you if you look at me. And I'm 60 years old. And I got this mindset and this behavior that if you look at me, you know what I'm saying, bro? If you look at me too much, I'll prepare to fight you.
That's so real.
So,
it's so real.
Man, that's what's, yeah.
Just last
I want to change that. Yeah. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to heal that trauma. And so that's what I'm doing now in Ghana. I have a wellness program, a wellness facilitator. Like I used to do the parent cafes, I'm facilitating wellness workshops and talking about wellness and healing and, you know, the trauma that the generational trauma that we have not addressed, unaddressed trauma is killing us. You know, as African people, it's, you know, sometimes we don't even realize it's there. Like, I didn't even realize it was there until I came to Ghana, because I always thought of myself as a very progressive, very healthy African man. Hard to learn, wanting to know. And I'm in the community, I'm doing the work, you know, I make the sacrifices, but I still have all this. Dr. Wade Nobles would say, guck. He would always say, I should go listen to Dr. Wade Nobles and Dr. Joy DeGruy, two of my mentors. You know, they say you have to dig from the trauma that we experience in our lives, the daily trauma of living in America as an African person. There's daily trauma that comes with that's attributed to, that fills us up. And before we know it, we're just out of control with trauma, with trauma response, trauma react. And
it's
so,
funny.
you know, it's really,
it's funny.
You got to deal with that.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because, you know, just last night I was going to a party in Funktown. You know, being from Oakland, I'm sure you know what Funktown is. And it was a bunch of young cats. They're all East Oakland heads, you know what I'm saying? And before I left, I got a few people with me. I'm bringing my wife with me. And the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, do I go grab my pistol and bring it? Or do I just trust that this is going to be a good thing? You know what I'm saying? And I'm having the tug of war in my brain, like, okay, should I get the pistol? Or if I bring the pistol and nothing happened, but then we get pulled over, then I got to deal with the police. And I'm going through this whole tug of war. And then finally I say, you know what, screw it. I'm just going. These are my people. We probably good. You know what I'm saying? We in the hood, but whatever. So we get there and we're sitting there and there's all these young cats walking around and I'm a little bit older. And, you know, I got my black man mug on me and I'm sitting in the corner. I'm smoking my thing, you know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at these cats and I'm like, okay, I'm sizing them up. Okay, he look all right. He seemed easy. And then about 2 hours into it, I realized these cats is looking at me a little intimidated by me, and we just intimidating each other. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's part of what it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And after that, I finally just let my guard down, and I'm chopping it up with them. We talking, we having good conversations. There was no fights. Right. The whole event went off. Everyone had a good time. Everyone went home. You know. And I just realized at that point, it's like, man, we have so much that's holding us back from our own
Right.
traumas and our own worries and our own fears that it's hard to connect in America, you know, like they do in Africa, you know, because they don't have that. They all family. There's no, okay, well, you dark or you light skinned or you what this or that. Everybody's African. They all love each other because they come from the same place and they understand each other. And I just wish we could have that here, you know?
So beautiful to see that up close. That's one of the beautiful things of coming here.
Yeah.
I especially love the men here. You know, people talk about the African women, absolutely beautiful. I can't take nothing away from the beautiful African women running around here. But being around these men has been such a gift for me. To see how men are men in Ghana is different. Let me just tell you this one story about like what you just said in Oakland. I was working for the South Berkeley YMCA. We created an urban basketball league because a lot of the kids can't play at the school teams because some of the best players are ineligible, right? Because they don't keep their grades up. So we get this group of kids, we're trying to get these knuckleheads off the street and give them something to do. We created this community basketball league, and it was an amazing experience. We had great kids coming on. We had kids from all over Oakland, like East Oakland, and kids from Castlemont, kids from Mac, kids from Oakland High. All these areas had their little teams together. So in one night, we have a big fight between the team from Mac and the team from Castlemont. I mean, it was an all-out brawl that got out of control. I couldn't contain it. People started shooting at some point. Gunshots were being shot, being thrown. It was bad.
Yeah.
And so we knew we had to follow that up with some real work. So I got all the kids from the area that I was in West Oakland. I was in West Oakland at the time. And I got them in a room and said, listen, you guys, we got to squash this. Because school was going on. It was during basketball season. And the kids are always going to see each other. I said, what's going to take to get past this? And they said, they blamed it all on the other kids. Well, those kids, you know, they come in, blah, blah, blah. And I could see that they were kind of afraid of those kids. They didn't know what those kids would do. So then me and the coach and the other group, we went to the kids in Castlemont, sat down with those kids. And both of the kids expressed fear of the other kids. And they said, because right now, you know, when things jump off, kids get on their phone and they call somebody with a gun and they call somebody to come to go stupid because they feel threatened. So what we came out of that conversations was, because Castlemont and Mac was going to have a high school basketball game just the very next week. Mac was going to Castlemont to play at Castlemont High School. And we knew it was going to be some funk at that game because all these same kids would be there. Yeah. So we made those kids agree that if they see each other, they wouldn't do things like make phone calls, because phone calls are threatening. If I see you and I immediately go to my phone, you think I'm calling for somebody to come with a gun. Yeah. So those things are so real. And once we got those kids to recognize that that nobody wants to fight, that both kids are saying they're the ones that are creating a problem and we're just defending ourselves. We brought that thing down. We had no challenge at the high school game that next week. And those kids came back together. We started having group dialogue with those kids, but it was all based in their perception of one another and the innate fear of what you might do that's been generationally passed on. If you see this group, they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And so everybody's just on their phones. When you see them people, when you see them get on their phone, that's what you squash. Yeah. Because that's the intimidating move that they make with each other. That means they're calling somebody with a gun. If you see me grab my phone and go, if there's some shit jumping off and you see me get my phone, that's what I'm doing. And that's the code the kids have. And so once we figure that out, we can make an impact. But it's just so real what you're saying. Like when you go someplace as an African man, as a black man, you always have to be mindful that something might jump off. And if you're taking responsibility for your family, for your wife, you might want to have your stuff with you. Yeah. You know, just in case you got to keep it real. Yeah. And why should we have to do that? When that's trauma in itself. That's the trauma that you have to stop and figure out, should I get my pistol? Yeah. That you have to make that choice. Yeah. It's trauma.
You know, and it's the divide and conquer, right? It's making us fear each other, to see each other as different. You know, like that school over there and this school over here, rather than seeing yourselves as part of one large community, right? You're dividing into these little microcosm communities and making it seem like you have to be at war with one another, when in fact it should be, you know, it should be all love. And it's interesting, Kwame, because, you know, we had another guest, my friend Michael Norville, who talks about, you know, doing some deep breathing as a healing work. And he talks about what it's like as a Black man to have your fight or flight instinct in full gear all the time. You know, you're always constantly triggered. You're always looking for the threat, because you perceive threats from everywhere, from within our community, from people outside of our community. I'm interested in knowing, you talked about the men in Ghana and how different they are. I find it fascinating that, you know, here you are, a man of 60 years old, you've had so much experience in life, and it seems like all of a sudden you're learning how to be like just completely different, like your whole state of being, your way of being, your way of thinking. Is there anyone in Ghana that has become sort of like a role model for you, or somebody that you idolize and you're like, man, that's the kind of model of the man that I need to become while I'm here in Ghana and maybe and for the rest of my life?
I do have a idol here. His name is Ishmael Tete. Ishmael Tete is my spiritual teacher, my guru. And when I first came to Ghana, he invited me to his home. And somehow, every morning we would sit on his sofa and we'd start talking about my anger. We always up in these conversations about my anger. He was trying to get me to learn to love white people. And I had a hard time with loving white people because I've seen what happens in our communities around the world. And I've blamed white people for a lot of our devastation. And so this man is a very loving man, probably the most loving man I know I've ever met. And he began to mentor me around my own anger, because it doesn't serve me to be angry. You know, anger never serves you, especially hatred. Let me just say hatred. Anger can come and go, but hating something is never healthy. And so he's become a real role model for me, a real mentor. And I do aspire to be more like him. But then, like I've talked to him, and we've got to the part of the conversation where I've explained to him some of the things that I've developed. I don't want to let go. Some of my anger, I'm not ready to let it go yet. I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't arrived. I haven't graduated from this class. I still feel a deep sense of responsibility for change. And so as long as I feel like you're hitting me, I'm going to defend myself. And I still feel like I'm getting hit, I'm getting beaten. And so I'm still fighting, and I'm working on unballing my fist, as Richard Price just keeps saying, unball your fist. I got to learn to unball my fist because my fists are still balled up. Yeah. And I told him the last time we talked about it, I said, listen, I don't want to do that, because part of it is like my dad, you know, he was such a man, you know. I feel like I would be disrespecting my father if I wasn't ready to whoop somebody's ass when they cross the line, you know, because that's just how we get down. You know, this is my line right here. You get on the other side of this line, I'm digging in that ass, and that's just it. Yeah. And I feel like as a man, I need to have that line clearly defined for myself. Yeah. And I'm learning how to move it back a little bit, or maybe smooth it down a little bit, or maybe make some, just because I see these African men and they hold hands. They will actually hold hands. The men, they love each other. They get into arguments, they get into debates, they scream and holler into each other's face, then they walk away. They never fight each other. They never hit each other. One day I asked a young man about it. What's going on? What are you guys doing? So you guys holler and scream. I'm thinking it's gonna go down. Then two people just, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna ever see a fight in Ghana. I've never seen a fight in Ghana. Listen, he looked at me, he said, well, you're allowed to express yourself. So they have these boundaries, they have their own boundaries. Like, if we get into a debate or a confrontation, I expect you to express yourself, and I get to express myself. And they express themselves very, very clearly with one another. And then what happens is mediators from just come around. And if it's a debate going on in Ghana, like I had an argument with a taxi driver once. 3 other taxi drivers came over to see what we were arguing about. Then they became the judge and the jury, and they said, okay, well, they decided it for us. That's how they do it in Ghana. If a confrontation ensues, whoever's in the area will take responsibility for coming over and finding out what's going on here. What are you guys arguing about? And they'll jump in it, and you have to explain your case, and they'll pull each other aside, and the guys come around will listen to each other, And then they'll make a decision. Okay, well, no, you. And they'll talk in God, I don't know what to say, but they'll squash it and send everybody in their opposite directions. It's just such a beautiful thing to see. And I'm like a little kid in Ghana right now. I'm learning. Like I'm an elder in California, but I'm new to Ghana. So I'm like a little kid. I'm learning so much about culture, about tradition, about values. I have a book of African values. Every time I see people, they mentor me. It's such a beautiful thing for me. I'm really living a dream right now because I am like a little child. I'm brand new, and it's just a wonderful experience to see African men. I mean, African men be African men. And no, I'm an African man. This is who I am. This is how we get down. We're nonviolent. We're loving, beautiful people. We hold hands. I hold hands with men in Ghana. I'll grab their hand. I'll grab a man's hand now. Come on, we hold hands. You know, it's new for me. Yeah. I've never held a man's hand like that. But I'm freeing myself from that guck, you know, from all that trauma.
I wish we could do something like the Jewish people do. You know how they have ways of getting Jewish kids to Israel and spend time there and then come back. If we could do something like that for African men and women,
that's like, a good idea, bro.
That would change something. You know what I'm saying? What you're talking about right now is what I need. It's what I needed. It's what the people I hang out with need. Like they need that. And just like you were saying about Ghana, I told you a friend of mine just got back, and that's exactly what he said. He was like, man, I went there, and then I went to where the slaves departed from. He was like, I broke down, I let it all out. He was like, it was a spiritual thing. And then he's playing me videos of men from Ghana like, come back to the motherland. And they're all like, we want you, come back. And for many, many years, I've always heard that Africans can't stand niggas. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I was like, oh, I didn't really believe it, but at the same time, it's a very prominent thing in our Black communities is that I'm not African, I'm Black, I'm American, or I'm this or that. Like you need to get back, and we all need to touch our toes in the ocean. We all need to put our feet on the dirt. We all need to learn something.
I got you. I got you. $1,500 round trip, bro. You come to Ghana, I got you, man. Yeah. I got you. You know what they told me when I first started thinking about it? Don't worry about money. They said, Kwame, just bring us. How much money did you bring? They said, bring $300-400. I said, what are you talking $300? You ain't gonna need no money. Just bring it. I came with like 3 G's, right? I didn't need no money. I don't need you. It's so inexpensive here. Yeah. You listen, if you get to the ground in Ghana, bro, I got you. Come on. Because what you're saying is so real. I wish I'd have got that because it's like when you see it, it makes me want to cry even thinking about it. Like it's so real. Like I look at these men, I'm like, oh my God. Then I realize this is who we are. And and I tell them all the time, I need this. I need to learn this because it was taken away from me. I don't know this. And they look at me like, I'm like, I want to learn from you because it would be so great if we could create a program like what you just described and allow the children to come here before you don't wait till you're 60 years old to come to Ghana, to come to Africa. Because when you get here, the learning, the lessons, we call this the year of the return to consciousness, the return mentally, the return emotionally, the return spiritually is a greater return than a return physically. Yes. Coming physically is the beginning of it. But when you start returning emotionally and mentally and psychologically African, I got t-shirts I'm printing that says I'm African. I'm African, I'm not Black. Black is what they use to separate me from my culture as an African. Black is a label they gave me to make me disconnect so I don't grow up thinking and have a responsibility to Africa. So they can continue to come and pillage this beautiful land because they're still coming over here taking. But the deep thing is they can't exhaust it. Africa is an inexhaustible supply. And as soon as we wake up and come back and resurrect it, it's still here for us, man. It's a beautiful place. So get your ticket, brother. Let me know. Yeah. I'll be here to welcome and receive you. Yes. You won't need no money. You won't need no money.
I need to get enough money.
Talk a little bit about the program that you emailed me about. You said the president of Ghana is giving land to African Americans who repatriate back to Ghana. So anybody in America of African descent who wants to go back to Ghana like you and just be there and stay, they get a free plot of land. Talk a little bit about.
Absolutely.
Can you tell
Well,
us a little bit about that program?
what I learned, one of the great systems in Ghana, in Africa, is we still have the chieftaincies. They have government like president now, but the traditional governance of Ghana, of Africa, were tribal chiefs. So every area, every village has a chief. And that chief is like the president of the village, or maybe the mayor, you might say. And everything in the village runs around the chiefs and his decisions. So there's a chief in the central region of Asebu, a little village called Asebu, the traditional area of Asebu, just gifted 100 acres of land to give away to Africans from the diaspora that want to return. This is the year of the return. So if you want to come to Ghana and really repatriate or just have a home in Ghana, have a presence in Ghana, you can come to Ghana this year. I'm the person that's disseminating the free land. I'm the person who's been identified as taking you through a criteria to identify you to get this land project. So it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for people, especially retirees like myself. I retired. Once you get 62 and you can retire, you can come to Ghana. And I learned this before I got here, but there's so many people struggling financially in the US, living on a Social Security check. You take that Social Security check and come to Ghana, and you can live handsomely on your Social Security in Ghana. You can live in a nice 5-bedroom house with a housekeeper and a cook. They fold your drawers and put them in a drawer for you. And you have enough money to last every month. There's no need to struggle financially. And so this chief has offered this land. It's beautiful, a beautiful place to be. It's in a great location. It's on the Kumasi Road. It is on the main road. You can get to Kumasi, Cape Coast, or Accra, the 3 major cities in Ghana. Get to any one of those places effortlessly from this location. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful opportunity. It's just such a loving gesture. And they have so much land available in Ghana. Ghana, you could get land on the beach, $2,000 a plot.
Wow.
It's just beautiful.
What does it cost to build there, Kwame, to build a home there?
You could build a beautiful, nice, modern home with all the amenities for $50,000.
Yeah.
Wow, that is stunning.
I'm a father of 3. I'm a father of 3. I just turned 40, about to be 42 soon. And man, that's like my dream right now. It's just, I just want land and some place to put a home down where I can raise my kids and be cool, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it would be a beautiful thing, brother, to come to Ghana and get rolling. Whatever you do in the States, you can do it here and have a lot of success. You can do it here and have a lot of success, man, because they need everything that we have to offer in Ghana. And it's a perfect trade-off because we bring a perspective and we bring resources to Ghana. Ghana has land, Ghana has culture, Ghana has tradition and values, and we can re-educate ourselves in that. So it's a perfect combination when we come together. I was talking to a young Ghanaian brother this morning about I'm creating this. You know what I do, Shauna. I got the young African entrepreneurs, a group of young brothers and sisters from Africa that are business owners, and I'm teaching them business strategies that I've learned in the States and how to create wealth building techniques, and also political agendas. And I'm teaching them about Pan-Africanism and bipartisan party politics, how to move Ghana forward effectively and get through some of the challenges Ghana has, because Ghana has its challenges. Yeah. And a lot of it is in leadership and the governance. But they have 2 systems. They have the president and the parliament that the British set up, and they have the chiefs, the traditional chiefs in the villages. And so all of that is profound. But the chieftaincies, man, that's who we are. And when you meet the chiefs, man, when I was invited to meet the chiefs, I go to the palace. They got a palace, man. The palace, dude.
Wow.
And the chiefs were sitting around in regalia. I'm gonna send you my program, Shauna. I'm gonna send you a package.
Yeah, I want
you, your brother. I got a picture of the chiefs, man. When you're around the chiefs, it's just a special feeling because you realize this is real, man. These guys are like, these are kings. These are African kings. And when they get together, they have the council of the elders. This is how we get down. It wasn't about all this stuff, but now they got the president and the parliament and all that. And that's a whole different thing. And that's part of the challenge that we have to resolve that, because they're on two different pages. And in the parliament, I'll tell you how crazy it is. In the parliament, in the courts in Ghana, not the parliament, they still wear white British wigs. The attorneys, you have to have on a white wig to speak in court. The judges are wearing white wigs. See how crazy it is?
That's
To this,
insane.
because we haven't returned mentally and psychologically. We haven't returned. We still have a, just like we have trauma from chattel slavery. They have trauma from colonization. They're still recovering from 40 years of colonization. So and so, I don't criticize it. I don't say it to criticize it. I say it to just observe it. That's what's going on in Ghana today. That in court, when you go to Ghana court, and I don't want to go because I'll start laughing. I'll get thrown in jail. They're wearing white powdered wigs. The judge and all the counselors.
That's insane to me, Kwame. But it's also really profound to me that here you are as an African American man who's returned back to the motherland, and you are learning and growing from the culture of Africa. And at the same time, it seems like you're going to have to teach them some things to help them.
That's right.
To raise their consciousness about being African, even though they've never left the continent. I mean, that to me is absolutely mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to me.
That's exactly what it is.
It goes to the thoroughness of what they've done to us.
Yeah. How pervasive, how deep, how widespread damage it is. Yeah.
They beat us up bad, man. They whooped us good, and they continue to do so. They have not stopped.
And they're still at it. They're still at it. That's right.
The lash is still coming, man.
Yeah.
But they've done a great job. And so we got to return mentally and emotionally. We got to return more than just physically. We have to look at the big picture.
Absolutely. And Kwame, you talked a little bit about people from here, African Americans going back home to the motherland and what we could bring there if we want to repatriate, if we want to visit and all that. I'm also curious to know if you're going to be coming back here at any time and bringing back, all these experiences and all of this knowledge and wisdom that you're picking up in Ghana. And like what you're sharing right now is so incredible, is so powerful. So many people here in the United States, African Americans here, we have a fear of Africa, right? We have no idea what Africa really is, except for what we're taught in school, what we see on television. Oftentimes, it's a negative impression of what Africa is. We think, oh, Africa, like I won't have a life, if I go to Africa. Having somebody like you share your testimony of what it's like to actually live in peace, what it's actually like to have community, what it's actually like to belong, and to have that connection. I'm just wondering, do you have any plans of coming back here to the States and sharing that, or whether you come physically or write a book or, share it, online? How are you gonna share this experience and this message with those of us who are still here?
I'm going to invite you home.
All right.
I don't know, Shauna, honestly, I may never return to the U.S.
Okay.
I may never, ever set foot on that soil ever again. And if I do it, it will only be because I want to see my mom and I need to go take care of my mom. My mom is 88 and she's given forward so much love into me that I'm not going to ever abandon her. I'm trying to get her to come to Ghana. If I can't get her to come to Ghana, I may have to return to the U.S., but my goal is to be here and to not leave here. I invite everyone to come to Ghana. I don't take my word for it. Come home, see it for yourself. I'm writing a book about parenting, urban parenting. That's my book. I may write a book about my experiences of Ghana, but more importantly, I'm on a mission to bring Africans home. I would love to see every African from around the world, not just the US, the Caribbean, the UK. If every African returned to Africa, we would change this world immediately, because then they wouldn't be able to exploit us economically in the US and other places. And we could return with those resources because we're needed here. To me, this is the front line for us. And it's such an opportunity here for us to do big things. So knowing that I can't do everything, I want to stay in my lane and do my part. And so I'm in Ghana. You know, I'm here now. I'm setting up some wonderful stuff here. I'm setting up avenues for people to come home. You know, when your brother comes, I want to be able to receive him, welcome him, have him set up so cool you don't have to worry about nothing. And so when we come back, we have something to come to. We have a safe place to land. We have resources. We have support. We have the things that we need to bring us back fully, and then to merge ourselves with the communities here and to do the work that we need to do. I'm excited about being in Ghana. I'm so excited about being here. I may never leave Ghana. I told my daughter, when I leave this body, don't take my body back. Don't even take my remains back to the U.S. I don't want my remains going back. I'm gonna put me in the ground in Ghana because this is where I need.
Right.
I want my spirit here. You know, I'm not going nowhere, man.
All right, Kwame. I'm gonna close out this episode with this statement. I'm gonna make a bold statement right now. I'm just gonna claim it. I'm putting it out there in the universe, and I'm gonna trust God to fulfill it. Kimani and I are both coming to Ghana, and we are gonna shoot an episode of Black Men Speak from Ghana.
Yes.
I'm saying I'll share that. Sister will come. I got you. Make it in 2019, not 2020.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna make it happen. I'm putting it out there right now.
It's not hard. Shauna, it's not hard. It's not difficult. It's much easier than people perceive. So I'm looking forward to receiving both of you, Shauna. I'm so proud of you. I think this is great work. This is needed, necessary work. I'm looking forward to all the follow-ups and the documentary and information that you gather. Please share it with me. And let's work together in the future. Let's get together and do a project together. Come and see my wellness program.
Yeah. Just real quick. Being from Oakland, you know Dwayne Wiggins, right? Yeah,
Dwayne came here.
Yeah, that's who I was. My homeboy is Frank Stickums. He's in Tony now. He came with Dwayne. He came out there to perform. That's who I was talking about.
Well, Dwayne hit me up. Dwayne is coming back.
Yeah, he coming back.
They had a great time.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go with them so bad.
All right, we're going to make it a family thing, Kwame.
Yeah.
When you're ready, I got you.
Okay.
When you guys want to come, let me know. I'll have you still. Don't even worry about money. Just come. Just get on the plane. Yeah. When you get off the plane, you got to worry about nothing after that. I got you.
I hear you. Kwame, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your heart, your spirit, your just sharing. Thank you for getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to have this interview with us. I just love your spirit, man. I appreciate you so much. Kimani and I'm saying it now and I mean it. My word is my bond. We're coming to Ghana. We're going to shoot an episode of Black Men Speak out there. And we can't wait to be there with you, man.
I got you.
All right. God bless. We'll see you soon.
God bless.
All right. Thank you.